And to connect again to budgetary issues and global equity, what about population stabilization? You know, there's this point out there that, you know, if you raise education and healthcare in some of these poor economies, fertility rates come down and population stabilizes, and that has a whole connection to a sustainable sustainability as well.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think what we have to do is we need an enormous domestic or United States national shift from military spending to, in fact, domestic, you know, humanitarian spending. Not only internally within the United States. I mean, we're falling apart infrastructure-wise, as we know, too, with bridges and roads and public health systems and drug addiction and suicide rates and all down the road. But you need a shift from military spending to humanitarian spending globally as well. And there are other countries too. I mean, in the Global Partnership, as you may know, the Global Partnership was established under the G8 to promote non-proliferation of weapons of mass destruction under the leadership of Canada 6 years ago at Kananaskis, Canada. And you have countries like France and Italy who have pledged each €1 billion to this Global Partnership Fund of a total of $20 billion. They've not spent that money 6 years into the Global Partnership. So the United States and President Bush is not alone. I mean, he's got a lot of fellow travelers who are also not helping in any way to address these issues too. And I just think we need a big mind shift maybe, and a value shift, and certainly a funding shift, you know, from military crisis-laden response to these issues to much more thoughtful, far-reaching humanitarian responses to all these environmental and security crises.
Well, I thought I'd invite everybody around the table to make another comment about, you know, the developing world, and then maybe we can shift our conversation to domestic policy in the United States.
If I could just briefly get back to this question of the budget and the entrenched interests that you were talking about, and if obviously the military is the largest slice of that pie and the strongest entrenched interest going back to Eisenhower's warning. Another really obvious strong entrenched interest is the energy industry, and increasingly from our perspective, the agribusiness industry. So that it's interesting that when discussions about the need to change course on climate and get away from fossil fuels come up, they move in directions that are in the interests of this new kind of unholy alliance between the energy industry and the agribusiness industry around ethanol and so forth. And that has tremendous implications as well for development. Again, I think for a development organization, the most basic need is to address hunger. That's certainly a clear issue for us. Not only, well, essentially making sure that people in developing countries have opportunities to feed themselves, to have sustainable agricultural economies. And what we're seeing increasingly is that to the extent that the United States is responding to climate change, it's responding through the channel of ethanol, which is leading to the globalization of agricultural production for fuel, on the basis that it's more environmentally friendly and renewable and so forth, but that's also having significant impacts in food production. A serious question about whether food production is being displaced, whether the production of biofuels is leading to further consolidation of agricultural markets that is closing the door to small-scale farmers in terms of their capacity to sell their products. So I think, you know, it's just another argument. If one entrenched interest we have to get at is the military-industrial complex and its greed for it's more than its share of the budget, we also have to look at this agribusiness energy nexus, not only for domestic democratic reasons, but also because that's just one, the biofuels explosion is just one instance of the way in which that is affecting developing countries as well.